Hey, welcome back to the RV Solar channel, and today we are working on a flying cloud Airstream here behind me. I want to tell you all about it, how we're installing everything. We had to do a little bit of light remodeling work inside, which is something we almost always have to do on these Airstreams to get what we want in there. Got 3 batteries, all the Victron equipment, I think 800 watts of solar on top. Like I said, want to tell you all about that. So stick around, keep watching if that's something you are interested in. So here she is. Dave and I have been working on this one most of the week, and we're hoping to wrap it up today. Customer wants to pick up on, well, the following week here. So we'll come back out here and talk about what we're doing out here towards the end. I want to take you inside. I'll tease you a little bit here. Look, there's a lot in there. All right, let's start in the back and just talk about everything we're putting in here and kind of how we got here. This is the kind of work we can't necessarily just jump into. It takes a lot of time, planning, sometimes testing, kind of trying a couple ideas. I think this is about the 3rd layout that we went with, trying to maximize usable storage space. I'm going to try and show you what it looked like before. Okay, you can tell we've had to move a couple of things around. The original inverter was right here, and then there's a bunch of other electronics, typical Airstream stuff here. We moved those back there. Still should be able to get at them, and we're planning, one of the things we're going to be doing today is covering that up, making it look nice, but of course still trying to keep it so that you can get at that when you need to. Got our 3 SOK batteries here, and we've been using SOK and Epic batteries from time to time. What I do like about these, you know, we're flip-flopping here back to an SOK, is we can fit, I mean, this is 618 amp hours right here. That is a lot of storage in a tight little space. And you can see we got positive, all in parallel, 12-volt system. We are also doing the Orion XS on this one. We're doing dedicated charging line, so there's going to be an Anderson connector out front. Well, we'll talk about that. Servo. This is the other thing we do quite a bit, is we'll put some hot glue on these so they don't come out. Especially this guy likes to come out sometimes, and this one. And we did it on the solar charger here. We're doing a 70 amp on this one. I think that might be one of our more go-tos now, the 150 by 70. It's a little bit bigger, has a little bit more thermal performance before it'll thermally derate, so we like that. Oh, we got a cooling fan here. Might be able to see it there, yep. So that's going to draw out all the hot air out of here. We tested that. We charged the batteries up for a long time at 100 amps. Everything stayed nice and cool. We will be doing an air conditioner load test. That's kind of our worst case scenario. And maybe we can put the FLIR camera on that so you can see what gets hot, what doesn't. But these exhaust fans have been working great. And the way we hook those up is we tie into something here called the K1 relay. And we program that relay to come on when this fan comes on, and go off when that fan goes off, because that's really the major source of heat. And that's what's going to keep your multi-plus from running a long time when you're really pushing it hard. So, yeah. And I got covers off on everything because, well, 1, we're still finishing things up, and 2, we still got to do that load test and do the thermal imaging testing. All right. Well, not that this was the easy part, but, oh, a couple more things. We've got our big old die-wool breaker here, and Dave did a great job of integrating this entire thing into a nice tight package. Here's the solar breaker there too. One of the challenges we were trying to do with this layout was this bed frame that I'm standing in flips up. We couldn't put a lot of the switches on that back wall because if you come in through that, you know, if you try and reach your hand around there, you can't see what's going on. You can't see the switches you're trying to operate. It's all by feel, and I just didn't think that was a good idea. So this is basically accessible. You flip open the bed top, you can get in there and operate those switches see whatever you need to see, get at whatever you need to get at. I feel like that's really important. Something I've been saying lately is, if you can't see a switch, it doesn't exist. If you can't change a fuse, it doesn't exist. I mean, it exists, obviously, but it exists once. Same thing, talking about our fuses, we got our Lynx distributor right here. And of course, we got that little light going on in there. I figured those are or you can see them through here. And that is going to be a little bit of a challenge. If we have to change those, you're going to probably have to try and reach in through there, or you might have to take the bed off. But generally, the way that we design our systems, those fuses never blow. They never blow. We do 4-aught cabling, so that means 400 amp fuses for our main stuff, like the whatever that guy is, Victron multi-plus inverter. And other appropriate size fuses, usually we do this at 80 amps because this is 6 or 4 gauge wiring. This one, we run 2 gauge wiring to that, so that's 125 amps. And then we'll run an 80 amp line to the main panel over here. Speaking of running that line over there, let's talk about how we made our connections here in our main power compartment that is in the Airstream. The power center, let's call it. Okay, so Dave and I went over this, it was a couple days ago. It's a little tricky. This actually has a transfer switch in it, but I'm not even sure where the generator is in this Airstream, but we're going to make it work with the transfer switch. So to do that, here's basically logically what you got to be thinking about is the output of the transfer switch has to go into the multiplus. The output of the multiplus then comes back and goes into the panel. And so what we had to do is we spliced this right here. So this is out of the multiplus and it's going into the output or the input of the panel, which used to be connected to some terminals there. And then we ended up just double landing these through here. And we're running some of this flexible 10-3 wire for all that stuff. So that's how that ended up being wired together. Then here, we ended up running our DC lines. We ran one here, here's negative, and then the positive here. We double landed inside there, and I feel good about that. And then these are the original connections that used to go to the converter. So the wires are still here. They're just capped off with some heat shrink tubing. I really like doing that. It's covered there's glue inside and it kind of firms up once it cools down, but you can always cut it off and it doesn't destroy anything. So one of the things I always like to be thinking about when we're doing these is we never want to, I call it burning mechanical bridges. We don't want to ever make it so that we can't go back or someone can't undo what we've done, because we don't know what's going to happen in the future. We don't know what the customers are going to do. And it might even be us who has to work on it again. It's been more and more that where we're upgrading stuff. And so I always want to leave our options open. And so not only are we thinking about you, the customer, but we're thinking about you, the technician, or whoever works on it later. Like I said, might be us. All right, now the real fun. At least what I had a lot of fun doing was running the HDMI and USB line from the servo under here into the water heater area through this compartment, in the bathroom, screen ended up right here. And it ended up going down that wall, and that's how we secured that there. This is the best option we had here. We don't have too many hollow walls where it can work well, but I think this is pretty darn good. We used a surface mount on this one.
We ended up removing the surface mount so that the cabinet door could open.
Just to keep a smaller hole in the back of that. If the customer chose, we could switch that back to to mount it in. It wouldn't be a big deal, but it's kind of tough to go the opposite. So that's how that turned out there. We got GUI mods on there. We got dark mode on. That is working great. tell you the truth, you know, a lot of people have been seeing, if you're watching this video later, this may not even be the user interface that Victron has. I've been testing the new Victron interface more and more. I still kind of like this one. I've got some kind of lizard brain in me. You know, as some of you know, in my former life, I did a lot of graphic design work. So for me, color is really important. Different colors of things really matter to me. I'm trying to see if I got some examples here. Like, even in some of the tools that I use, blue is, I know pretty much any of my bits that are blue, I mean, it's a Phillips. Use green for T25 and red for square bit. It just helps me not have to think as much. And the less I have to think, the better. So that's why I think Victron should keep some sort of color in their user interface, in my humble opinion. Don't worry, I haven't forgot about the solar, but we're probably going to do that after we're done here, and we're going to get it outside where we can get our rolling scaffold on it. It's just a little bit easier to do it that way. We do have a room in the shop to do it, but I don't know, reasons. We'd like it out in the sun so we can really test the solar at the same time. All right, out here in the tongue, we got our positive and negative main connections sorted out. So it's real simple. Pretty much I just take all of the positives and put a bolt and nut on it, and then cover it with some heat shrink tubing, and then do the same thing with the negative. And then I'm going to cover this whole thing with some cable wrap, and then probably attach it to the side box here. But then for the most part, this is all available for storage then in the future. And like we said on the DCDC charging, we have a big old Anderson connector here ready to go for the customer. When they come to pick up, we will install the other half of that, and that's just connected with some 2-gauge wiring running all the way up into there and into the Orion. And we've got a Wild Dave sighting here.
Out there.
He is, maybe we'll pop in there. Is there anything to look at in that?
I mean, I could show you what I'm doing.
All right, I'll come in and, you know, we'll all come in.
Yeah.
All 3,400 of us. All right, so that's the thing about this job is you gotta be multi-disciplined. And like JD, Dave, and I'm still learning. He's a great carpenter, Dave here. So look at that.
So we had to move the original wiring over this way to maximize space in here. And so what I have to do is I have to grab cardboard templates and kind of get my shape, and then slowly work it down so that everything is exactly, you know, described to the walls, and that's what I'm working on. That's the process. So
all right.
I've got the top part. It kind of
there you go.
Put in here. I'm working on the side piece, so this one will drop right in and be reasonably close to that.
Perfect.
I'll have this guy in there, and that will. This is all using materials that are identical to this.
Yeah. Eventually, we're doing enough Airstream work. We gotta start ordering some of their material.
Yeah.
But we've been lucky enough to be able to work with the scraps we find from building the project. So
it's close.
All right, I'm just slowing him down now, so we better get out of here. All right, so here's how that ends up looking there, and then we just close that up, and it's good to go. Oh, Bear, what do you think? This is Bear, if nobody knows. He's about a 1-year-old Bernese Mountain Dog, and unlike Coco, our previous dog, he's not quite to managerial level yet. He's definitely in training. He's mostly in charge of chasing, chomping, and playing. So he makes sure we have a good time around here. Right, Mr. Bear? Right now he's telling us we've got some something cooking in the pizza oven. So I think Dave and I might take a quick break, and but we got to finish this thing up today. All right, Mr. Bear. Would a dog like a corn dog? Would you very much like that? All right. Bite. Take a bite. Usually loves corn dogs. Oh, there it goes. I don't give him the stick. All right, Bear says it's getting a little hot, so it's time to, well, we've already been running the air conditioner test on here right now, so we're pulling about 130 amps through everything, running the air conditioner in here. Hey, Dave.
Hello.
So I got the FLIR attachment on my phone here, so let's see if anything's getting too hot. You can tell the main fuse connection there. Let's go up top and check all the battery connections. Oh, actually, while we're here, the fan. It's definitely pushing out the heat. You can tell it's even warming up that tire a little bit. This is a spare tire here, so that's good. Now let's look here. This hot point here is the servo. That thing always runs warm. Look at that. That is the warmest thing of it. That switch isn't getting very warm at all. Shunts can get a little bit warm. And we're definitely getting a little bit of heat on this main negative here, but it's in the 80s. It's not horrible. Alright, so while we were doing our test here, and I was about ready to put the Lynx cover on, I did notice one thing, and this is why sometimes we'll miss this, but anyway, the important thing is here, see this lug? Let's see if we can get a better focus on it. This one right here, I already loosened it up, but see how it's overlapping on the fuse? When you're using these 5/16, and I would recommend you use a 5/16 whole 4/0 lug, you have to nip the end of it off. And I'll show you what that looks like when I'm done. I just use one of these, and you just try and get it right on the end of it, and you just snip it off, and then it'll make better contact with that fuse. It wasn't getting crazy out of control heat wise, but we just want as much contact area as we can with that. And this is how that looks once you nip the end of it off. And as you can also see, we do treat. We file these lugs down to try and get them flat. The copper parts are where basically material we've removed, and the silver parts are where the original finish is still left. So you can tell you want to try and get these as flat as possible. That's all I got to say about that. All right, let's get this back connected and keep working. Now I'm gonna go grab a fresh fuse, but this is kind of what happened to it here. You can see it got bent pretty good, so I'm gonna go put a new one on there just to make sure. Like I said, it wasn't heating up all that much, but anyway, better safe than sorry. All right, we're outside up on the roof, making sure all of our panels are gonna work. This is 800 watts of solar on this beautiful Airstream Flying Cloud. Here's how we did it. We had to get a little creative, as usual. So we do these 100 watt panels. Airstream does these long, skinny ones. I don't know. I guess there's maybe some reasons why, but you can fit so much solar on here, and it's not even that hard. So that's why we like these. Anyway, running 2 sets in series, and then running those all in parallel. So it's 1, 2 in series, 1, 2 in series, and then they come into a combiner right there, and then we'll tuck all that under there. Which, hey, it's a great time to talk about this. So typically there's a vent like this right here. So what we did was we modified it, cut it down, and we're sealing it up really well. I'll probably add another layer before I seal the panels down. And we didn't worry about the top cap because the solar panel will be covering it, but that allowed us to get one more right here where we wouldn't have otherwise. We do want to keep these vents open because these pop up. And let's take a look over here, how these are looking. Now the only tricky part is we do have one that's a little bit further sticking out over there than we typically do, but that's what we got to do, talk to the customer, and they are perfectly fine with that. So that is what we're thinking there. The other thing I want to mention why we're outside doing this is we want to make sure that the panels are working properly before we secure them down. If there's any problems with wiring, this and that, let me show you a problem we did see with wiring on another system. And it's always good to verify before you get too far. Let me show you this. So this right here is something JD found on a project we did, which did not make it to YouTube, but this melted right into the combiner. And part of the reason was they were wired wrong. And what they did in that example, just to use it, like they took, quite literally, they took like 3 panels in series and 1 in parallel with it. So you got, you know, 90 some volts trying to keep up with 20 volts. It just does not work. Your amps go way high, things melt, fuses don't blow. It just, all kinds of weird things happen. So what I do to test the panels before we secure them down is I'll basically shade each panel individually with the Victron Connect app open, and then look to make sure that the watts go down every time I shade a panel. And each panel should react equally, roughly equally. You know, it's each panel is not exactly the same, but we're looking for something that is approximate. So, you know, what we're finding is each panel, let's say right now they're putting out, well, I don't know, it's morning-ish still, so they're not putting out great power, but 30, 50 watts each, something like that. So that's what we should expect it to go down by each time. So anyway, that's what's going on. So I'm gonna get the finish wiring all this up, get it secured down, and then we're about ready to do the wrap up here. Well, here it is in all its glory. 800 watts on an Airstream, 25-foot flying cloud. It's not that hard. You just got to get a tick creative, and you too can do it. The other thing I want to point out here real quick is for there we use these SAE to MC4 adapters, and then we put the polarity reverser on there, and then wrap that in a little heat shrink tubing, and it's good to go. So we just use 2 of the ports, one half on one, other half on the other. Pretty easy. Pretty easy. So let's go inside and show you how that turned out. So here's about what we're getting for solar right now. I put a load on it last night, just left some lights on and that sort of thing to drain the battery down. And it's kind of the way flat mounted, well, it's not all flat mounted solar, but a little more than 50% at this time of day, this time of year. That's about what we can expect to get. Here's how under the bed turned out. So you can see, you can get at the switches. You can get at the links is going to be a little tricky, but hopefully you never have to. At least the way we design it. And then there's also an access panel underneath the mattress there. So, but a lot of the common stuff you can get to real easy. So we like that. All right, Bear wants to say something, I think. Maybe not. You know what? I'll say it for him. Thank you for sticking around this long and watching to the end of the video. This was a great project to work on. We really enjoyed it. Oh, there he is. Now he's got something. As you can see, we work on Airstreams. We work on high-end Class A bus conversions. That's JD's, if anybody's curious. Great bus. Got another one there we're doing some work on. We do bus conversions. We do all kinds of stuff. So if you want work done on your RV, ice house, ice castle, whatever you got that could use solar on it, check us out at sotasolar.com, SOTASOLAR.com. There he goes. He's a nut. Yeah, we'd love to hear from you. And until next time, we will catch you later. He's got the zoomies.